Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Guitar Talk. I'm Mike Higgins, and I'll be your host for the next half hour. We love to talk about guitars and amps, effects pedals, vintage equipment, new equipment, and of course all the different styles of guitar picking and playing. If you've got an old instrument or amp you'd like to talk about it or share it with the viewers, reach out to me. We'd love to have you on the show sometime. Today, I'm very excited to bring to you someone who has roots in the Taunton music community going back to the 60s. If names like Ronnie Rose and the Federation 9, Vesuvius, if you remember those bands, you're going to appreciate today's guest. He's also been holding down the guitar chair for the undaunted Professor Harp now for several years, decades probably. He's been a member for a long time of the Taunton City Band, playing alongside of another well-known Taunton musician, Mr. William Bachman, who's a well-known and respected music educator here in Taunton. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mr. Tom Williams. Welcome aboard, Tom.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Although you make me sound like I'm an ancient mariner here, back in the 60s.
No, I wouldn't say mariner, just ancient.
Just
maybe.
ancient, yeah.
But,
well, that's a good description.
You played with Vesuvius.
Vesuvius.
A founding member?
Yeah, and prior to Vesuvius, it was called Federation 9.
Yes.
And I was going to Bridgewater Raynham Regional because I grew up in Bridgewater, and my cousins, John and Jerry Carbonara, Jerry played bass, John played trumpet, and you're going to ask me, I remember the other trumpet player was a guy named, believe it or not, Socrates Vavalotis.
I remember Socrates.
And the tenor sax and alto sax player was a guy named Dave Vesuvius, Dave Wilczewski from Stoughton. He's passed on. And I actually knew him because I played in the Greater Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra as I played trombone. And Dave played clarinet. And he played sax in that band. So he had 4 horns, 2 trumpets, trombone, which I played, and saxophone. And a guy, I believe his name was Mike Vieira. I think he was from Raynham, played drums. Jerry Carbonara played bass. Mark Cavallo from Raynham.
Right, everybody in the Taunton area knows Mark from several great bands. He's a fine player.
Mark was the guitar player, and a guy named Greg Glynn played keyboards.
Oh.
And it was called the Federation 9, and of course Ronnie Rose fronted the band and sang. And Jerry Carbonara, the bass player, did most of the arrangements, and I did a couple, but he did most of them. And I remember we rehearsed at Mark's house in Raynham, but we did a lot of rehearsals at the Polish Club in Wittenden.
The Taunton's one and only Polish club, folks. Surely you've had a beer there once or twice.
And Jerry wrote an instrumental called Pulaski Square. I never played it, but he did it in subsequent bands. And just a note, Jerry's younger brother, David Carbonara, graduated from Berkeley with a film scoring degree, and he's the composer of the original music on the TV show Mad Men.
Oh.
So if you watch Mad Men, I know it's not on anymore, he wrote the original music for that. And he grew up in Bridgewater. He's part of the Carbonara family, musical family. Their mother ran the music program at the Bridgewater State Prison. My mother was a music teacher too, so I started on piano.
Came from a musical family.
Yeah, piano and trombone, and played in a dance band at middle school. Played a dance, saw the rock band at the other end, saw who was gravitating towards the rock band as I sat with my trombone in my mouth and said, this isn't really happening.
Time to get a Stratocaster.
I didn't start with a Strat, but I got an electric guitar. We started a kid band, a psychedelic band. And
fantastic. Now, I never saw Federation 9, but I saw Vesuvius probably a half a dozen times. And, because you guys would do gigs at places where it wasn't always necessarily a nightclub where there was liquor served, because I was too young to go to the clubs. But I saw you guys at the CYO on High Street. Now it's long been torn down. It's a bank over there now. I saw you in the Mulcahy School Auditorium.
Yeah, could be.
You guys, I remember you did a function at the Italian Club, and by then you had Lenny on guitar.
Lenny Lusitano.
Lenny Lusitano, folks. He wasn't from Taunton. He was a pretty wild player.
Now, Lenny was from Fall River.
Right.
And I had a little trouble understanding Lenny sometimes. He had a very thick accent.
Yeah.
And we used to rehearse at a CYO in Fall River.
Oh.
And he used to say, "Oh, we'll have to Father Mac." And I said, "What?" It turned out it was Father Mac. And they had a keyboard player too. I can't remember his name. All I remember, he had this big Lowry organ.
Yeah.
It was like a B3. And we used to carry that around. But you know, I hate to say this, but
Lenny still plays.
Does he?
He's around Rhode Island area. I've seen a few things pop up online. And of course, Mark is still very active performing and teaching. But you guys, you know, I mean, you guys had what I considered back then, being a few years younger, two of the premier guitar players around. And I think Mark still was using the Fender Twin Reverb. He hadn't gotten the big Marshalls yet when I used to see you guys. But those twin cranked up loud was a mighty beast.
When I was a kid, we all aspired to get a Fender Twin.
Everybody wanted one.
And usually what happened is you'd finally get a Fender Twin, you'd turn it up really loud, and you'd blow those lousy speakers they used to put in, because the speakers they put in them were never capable of playing loud,
handling that power.
And in order to do that, you had to get JBLs, and that made it even more expensive. So I know a lot of people that had twins.
Mark put JBLs in his.
Yeah. I blew out a twin. I had a twin, and I played in one of the few rock bands I played in Brockton in my college days, and blew out the speakers in that. So
you were strictly, you held down the bone in Vesuvius.
Right. I was not one of the greatest guitar players in the area. I was.
Well, you certainly are now.
No, I'm just kidding.
You certainly are now.
Wow.
So when you left there, is that when guitar became more focused than the trombone?
Well, when I left there, I went to music school.
Ah.
And that was trombone, but I still played guitar. And I got my degree in music education from New England Conservatory, where my mother went in Boston, and played trombone. But I still played guitar, and in the middle of my college years, I actually played in a country western band.
Nice.
Called Hank Hughes and the Country Roundups. And that was country western in '74.
Right, when it was country western.
Well, it was still Hank Williams, Mo Bandy, Merle Haggard.
The real stuff.
The real stuff, yeah. And during those days, I had the Twin, and I had a blonde stock Telecaster that I bought brand new at EU Wurlitzer in Boston. And
you still have it?
No, I don't have that guitar. No. I view guitars and amps and they're tools to make music. And back in those days, I think Joe Craig Jones has an expression. We never called them vintage. We just called them used. And in those days, you thought nothing of, well, I played this for a while. I'll get rid of it.
Sure, moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone had said to me, a stock Telly that I bought at Wurlitzer's in 1974, you should have hung on to it, because, well, if I hung on to everything, first of all, I wouldn't be living in my house, because there'd be no room. And I'm also a believer that if you don't use it,
don't keep it.
Yeah, I'm not the collector type person. In fact, I've been up and down job-wise. I have day jobs, and I was unemployed for a while. And when I got out of college, I sold records at the old Harvard Coop in Harvard Square. So I accumulated a big record collection, and I sold that when I was unemployed. And I sold it to a woman who has thousands of records, and she deals with collectors. And she said to me, "Well, we don't like musicians, because musicians listen to the records.
Yeah, you wear them out.
We want pristine records,
right?
And collectors want pristine equipment."
Exactly.
And I had
use it.
I had a Marshall bottom with a Fender. I had a Les Paul back when everybody had Les Pauls.
Yep.
And I got rid of it because it was too heavy. And I had a Telly. I had a Gibson 335,
But you do have a very clean and gorgeous Fender Vibrolux, a brown one, folks, before the reverb, with the original tube-driven vibrato circuit.
Yeah.
How long has that baby been in your possession?
I've had that for over 30 years.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, I had a really good day job, and I started getting into more. I said I should have a vintage amp, and I was on vacation with my then girlfriend, who became my wife, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And on the way back, we stopped in Virginia. There used to be a place in Wheaton, Maryland, called the American Guitar Center, and it was a room full of old amps. And I originally wanted to get one of those old Brown TV amps.
Yes.
And I told the guy, and the guy said, "No, you don't want that. You want one of these. This is a really nice amp." And I said, "Yeah, okay." I played it, and I said, "And how much is it?" He says, "Oh, $325." I said, "All right."
Wow.
So I bought it. Now, the thing I didn't do then, because I should have, they had some old tellies, like 50s tellies, and I was playing one of them through the amp, and I said, "Wow, this is a really nice guitar." And he said, "Yeah, we got a couple of them. They're Roy Buchanan's." I said, "Yeah?"
No, sir.
"Yeah," and he said, "How, you want to buy one?" And at that time, it was too much money. I couldn't afford it. But yeah, he was selling a couple guitars.
Couple of Roy's guitars.
Yeah, now that I look back on it, I probably should have bought one of those guitars.
Yeah,
had it
we all have those
authenticated.
moments.
But the funny thing about that amp, and I didn't know this until I had work done on it finally 20 years later, whoever bought that amp wanted to turn it into a Fender Deluxe because they put a lower power output transformer in it, and they put 6 V6 tubes in it.
Ah.
So when I finally brought it to Joe Craig Jones in Boston, I don't know if he has a vintage guitar
Yes,
place.
I know Craig.
Yes.
We've done some business.
And if you walk into his place, first the thing is shocking, the stuff he has. I mean, he has some really great old stuff. And he got it back to where it was spec-wise, where it was supposed to be. In fact, I don't know what year that amp is. I know they only made them from 61 to 63.
I think, and that applies to all the Brown amps.
Does it?
I believe it does. I think 63 is the cutoff, and they switch from there to the Blackface series. For instance, my Vibrolux
Yeah, that's a pre-CBS.
is pre-CBS, and it's a 65.
Yeah.
And that is a pretty clean example. It's had the caps changed that need to be done and some of the other things, and that came from the collection of Ricky King Russell.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd been searching for one for quite a while, and Ricky had one, and he decided to let it go, and fortunately it landed with me. Thank you, Ricky.
Oh, yeah. Ricky's a nice guy. In fact, he got me...
A wonderful player,
He
yeah.
got me my gig with Shirley Lewis. When she had a band called The Movers back in the 80s.
I remember that band
And
well.
she left that band and started her own, the Shirley Lewis Experience. And I played guitar in that band, and Ricky recommended me, and I got that gig. But back to the amp, just to finish up with the amp. Joe Craig Jones told me that the rarity of that amp, besides the fact it was only made from 61 to 63, it is one of the only Fender combo amps with 112 that has 6 L6 tubes in it.
Oh, so that really has a lot to do with the tone.
Yeah, it's a 30-watt amp.
Yeah.
So the Deluxe, as we know, has 6 V6. The rest of them, I don't know a lot about. I have a Vibrolux
6
reverb.
L's in the Vibrolux.
Yeah,
reverb.
6 L's in the Vibrolux reverb, and the Super, of course.
And folks, when you're looking at these kind of vintage amps, I can't say enough about finding the right tube complements for these amps. Not all tubes sound the same. If you can afford it and you're lucky enough to find some good ones, if you can find vintage RCAs, that's what you want to put in these amps, because nothing sounds like them. And you can hear the difference between quality vintage tubes and newer ones. Newer ones will get the job done, your amp will sound good. But when you find vintage tubes that are really still in good spec, you just go, wow, it's like someone took the blanket off of your amp.
Yeah.
Let's play a little something so the folks can hear that beautiful vibrato, because nothing sounds quite like one of those.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool for like soul music too, you know.
We'll sit down and chat a little more, and then we'll
Yeah.
come back and give them another one. Well, folks, that's what a really great tube-driven vibrato circuit sounds like. And as Tom mentioned, they only made that for 2 years, and boy, what a sound.
Yeah, I should mention, just because I know in the vintage amp world, they like them pristine, and that amp certainly isn't. I broke the handle, so I put a vintage reissue handle on it.
Looks great.
It works. The original speaker is long gone. I didn't have the original in it. That's a Weber.
They make great speakers.
Yeah, the late Ted Weber passed on, and when I put that speaker in, it was really cool because you could send him an email and tell him exactly what you had, and he recommended a certain 12-inch speaker to go in there, and I replaced a panel on the back. Luckily nowadays, you can find replacement wood panels.
Yeah, Mojo Tone makes some
things
amazing
like that.
things. Yeah.
And
it looks great.
And the power transformer, as I said earlier, whoever had it before tried to make a smaller version. So that has an equivalent power transformer. Although Craig Jones told me he's got an original that will go in that amp, but we'll see.
Even if you don't put it in, I'd buy it just while it's still available to have it.
Well, gee, Mike, thanks. And I'll let you know how much it is, and we'll order it. No,
yes,
no,
indeed.
Just kidding. So that's really it. I mean, that's really it. It's a great amp. I don't use it a lot. I used it for recording. Shirley Lewis did a couple recording things, and I used it on that. We did the Etta James version of Rather Go Blind, which is available on a CD that Shirley put out. So if you ever see it,
that's
I'm
you
on
playing.
That's me playing.
Now, during your time with Vesuvius, do you remember any Taunton places other than the couple I mentioned that you might have played at?
Yeah, back then, Coyle and Cassidy were separate, if I recall.
Right.
One was boys and one was girls. And I think we played a gig at the Cassidy place. I know we did a couple CYOs in Taunton. And then the one gig I'll always remember is, it was called Roseland then. I think it's a Chinese restaurant
Hong
now.
Kong City.
And it has it had a bowling alley.
Beautiful big performance space.
Right.
It's still there.
Right. And Ronnie Rose got the idea that we should host a dance there. And we would run it, and we would take the profits. And we hired another band, a local band. I think it was a trio. It was called, I think it was the Wampanoag Flea Market.
The Wampanoag Flea Market.
Flea Market. Trio.
Oh, so they didn't have the organ player, or they were missing somebody if it was a trio.
I think one of the guys' names was Silva, but that's all I
Jimmy
remember.
was the drummer.
There you go, yeah, Jimmy Silva. And I remember that some of us were dubious about the fact that, well, could we fill this place? So we had it, and we did. We made out pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
And we were a 9-piece band, and from that and paying, I think we came away with $100 each. Which in 1970, I think it was kind of
a good night's pay in 1970.
Really good. Yeah.
And you know, the thing is, today, folks, you can still make that $100 in 2017.
That's right. Yes. So you could get in a band and you can feel like you're recreating what it was like to get paid 40 years ago.
Wow.
No, actually, 40 years ago, $25 was a good pay. And the other gig I remember, there was it used to be called Southeastern Massachusetts University. It's UMass Dartmouth now.
Yep.
And Socrates, the trumpet player, who we call Soki, went to school there. And in 1970, they had a Woodstock thing called the Woods of Dartmouth Pop Festival. It was a 3-day thing, and they had name bands at night and local bands during the day. And we played. But for some reason, we went on after at like 1 in the morning, the name bands. So here we are, Vesuvius, local band from the Taunton area, and we went on after Rhinoceros, 10-wheel drive, and the Ides of March.
And you guys used to do vehicle.
We did vehicle, yes.
I remember you guys doing that. Ronnie could sing that like no one's business. And you guys, the horn section, man, you were popping on that.
Well, that was one of the things about that band. We really did arrangements. So
Chicago, BST, that was still some of the finest music.
And that band rehearsed for about 6 months before we went out and played. We would rehearse at either Mark's house in Raynham or the Polish Club. So we didn't put that band out on the road till we had the whole repertoire
Till it was
down.
ready, yeah.
Yeah, we did that, and we did some soul tunes. I'll always remember we used to do a version of Amen, you know, Amen.
Curtis Mayfield.
No, this was an instrumental from the back of a hit single called Color Him Father. Color Him Father. The Winstons.
Wow.
So if you go get the single of Color Him Father and flip it, I think it was a pretty hip version too.
You guys had a pretty strong version of I Want to Take You Higher too by Sly and the Family Stone.
We did that one. And I always remember playing Beginnings, the Chicago tune, because at the end we all got to play Latin instruments because it has that Latin thing going.
Yeah, the percussion thing.
We even did South California Purples, which is a blues from, I think, the first Chicago album.
Wow.
We did Introduction too. We did like really difficult tunes. And now that I listen to them, I'm like, wow, how could people dance to those tunes? But we also did Sam and Dave. We did some of those tunes.
Yep, popular dance stuff.
Yeah.
And Ronnie was really a consummate entertainer and frontman too. He really could lead the band well, and of course he remained active with his own bands long after. He's in Vegas now. You can find him on YouTube, folks, if any of my old Taunton friends that want to see what Ronnie's up to. But Vesuvius, that was the band to see. I mean, you guys were you guys were huge as far as I'm
so
concerned.
nice of you to say that.
Yeah.
Now, I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I wonder how I played some of those gigs we played. Because I remember playing at the Wickford Marina. That was a bar.
Wow.
So we did some bars, but I guess in those days, if they didn't, I don't really know. Sorry, all you Law and Order fans. I don't know what happened back then. It's over. That was a long time
Let's
ago.
give the folks another taste of that nice vibroxen you're playing.
Okay.
We're going to go to a PSA, folks, and we will be right back with you. Stay tuned.
Mike, there's a great series called Rock and Roll Rhythm Guitar by Amos Garrett, whose claim to fame was he played that wonderful solo on Midnight at the Oasis.
Amos is a monster.
He has a little bit on there on how to set a tremolo. Obviously, you set the intensity, but what he said was you like to get divisions, so you want to hear ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, or you want to actually hear a rhythmic pulse, so
Yes.
ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like that, and
And then you can play to that rhythm.
yeah, right.
Beautiful.
1, 2. Wow, 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 wow. It's in time with the beat you're
With the
playing.
rhythm, yeah.
Right, so.
Beautiful. Good tip, folks.
Yes. And then, of course, if you play with Professor Harp, I have to tell this because it's a great. He'll play. Hey, Tommy, give me a little shake.
Which you watching, Professor?
So we'll go and do. Which is scratch my back. Which,
Yeah.
Which the T-Birds
Wonderful.
did and Harp does. So.
Thank you. Well, let's play a little minor blues for the folks.
Okay, sure.
Tom Williams, ladies and gentlemen, on guitar today. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Tune in for the next episode.